Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first Overpaid Over the Bar mini league video during the season. I'm Anthony, and I'm going to go through some of the most interesting topics involving your fantasy players that you might be looking at or you already have for game week 3. I'm recording this on Friday, the 29th of August, on the eve of game week 3. We've already had 2 game weeks. I haven't recorded a video so far since pre-season, so quite a lot to look at. First of all, we're going to look at the overpaid over the bar league, see who is doing well, who's doing not so well, why, if you're not doing so well, there's a lot of reason to be patient. Then we're going to just look at why all the content creators on YouTube are doing badly, which is quite interesting. I mean, I say all of them, all the ones I'm looking at. And then which is a lot. And then we'll look at fixtures for game week 3 and 4 as well, which is important coming after the international break. And finally, I'm going to look at my team and what I'm going to do with it this week and beyond. So first of all, I want to share with you the um, the mini league. So let me just get that up. I always find sharing takes longer than I want it to, but as you know, I'm fairly challenged in these areas. So please bear with me. So we've got a really interesting start to the mini league. Everyone's favorite player, Keith Harper, is leading at the moment. He's leading on, well, he's 1 point ahead of me. Yeah. And I think we both played a chip. I think we both played a bench boost. I'm not sure. So we may be a little bit falsely positioned there, but it's great to see Keith doing so well. Let's just have a look at why on his team a moment. So he really struck gold with Pickford this week, who saved a penalty and kept a clean sheet for Everton. He captained Gabriel. If he captained, I mean, if you look at the fact they scored from corners again, he was unlucky not to get more on that because Calafiori and Timber hauled big time in this game. But still, Gabriel's a decent captain this week because a lot of people didn't do well with their captaincy. Um, Iwobi's one of these picks that only Keith would pick. And look, he's pulling 7 points there on a fixture. Who did he play against us? I'm not even sure who he played against in that game. Um, he played against Manchester United. Yeah, of course he did. So that was a good one. Ekitike and Gakpo have really paid off for him. And Joao Pedro, of course, was the star of the game week with his, I mean, mauling of Chelsea just mauled West Ham. We'll talk about that one a bit later. So, I mean, that's a solid team. He's got Reinders, who didn't return. He's got Wood, who's got an excellent fixture. This game week 3, so there's every reason for Keith to sit tight on this team actually, and wait for the international break. He's got Eze as well, having joined Arsenal. This is a very, very good team. Like me, he's avoided Salah, but he's also avoided Haaland. And that gives him a lot of money to have a lot of exciting players. So Keith's always outside the box, and I know John Holloway is a big fan of his selections. John Holloway looks at everybody's team in the league and has opinions about everybody. So uh, my advice to Keith would be sit tight on that team. Don't mess about with it too much. But anyway, um, we've got. I mean, some people are going to be pretty happy. Freddie's done well here. Craig's doing actually better than some of the people that he's similar to in the content creator world, like FPL Harry. Um, so he should be happy with that. Uh, yeah, John Holloway played a wild card, didn't go so well. I think that was a mistake, honestly, but we'll see. And then last year's runner-up, Piers Shingleton, is in 19th position, and really he suffered from the thing that a lot of people have suffered from, which is choosing Palmer, um, Verts. Yeah, those are the main ones that have caused problems. I think he might have made a transfer from the previous week as well. But there are certain players that are just that a lot of people picked that have just not performed. Um, so a lot of the content creators have gone for Salah, Palmer, Watkins, Verts, and Bruno Fernandes. And Salah's done okay. I mean, it's not like he's been a disaster. He's returned in both the game weeks with a goal and an assist. But you expect more from a player of, 15 million, whatever he is. 14 point, is it 15? Yeah, it's 15. You expect more from that in those fixtures. Bournemouth at home, Newcastle away, maybe not so much. He's got Arsenal at home this weekend, so maybe he won't be pulling in so many captaincies this weekend. Palmer was disappointing in the first game. Then he somehow was injured for the second game, and it's difficult to know how serious that injury is. My bet is he'll be directly back after the international break. But the transfers out on Palmer are absolutely massive. Um, Ollie Watkins, I think, well, I have him in my team. I think there's an argument to stick with Ollie Watkins, because if we look at the fixtures this week, he's got Palace at home, which is not the best. The following week, he's got Everton away. Then he's got um, Sunderland away, and then the following week he's got Fulham at home, and then after that, I think there's one more good one. He's got Burnley at home. I'm not getting rid of Watkins. I think if you've got Watkins and Rodgers, it's been very disappointing so far because Villa have looked pretty poor, honestly. Um, and I don't know how they're going to sort that out because the midfield is looking a little bit um, it's looking a little bit weak. And actually, I'm going to talk about midfield later on because I think the midfield positions in the Premier League have become so key to how the overall team does, even more than they ever were. The central midfield, specifically, if you look at the fortunes of the team so far and how certain teams have underperformed and some have overperformed, like if you look at their midfields, you can see why. So I'm just going to have another look at that later on because I think there's something that you should take note of when you're buying strikers or defenders is how well they're protected and supported by their central midfield players. So let's look at game week 3 fixtures. Um, this game week is a bit different to the first two in the sense that certain teams like Manchester United have good fixtures. We're also looking at Liverpool, Arsenal playing each other, which, it's difficult to say how that game will go. So if you have more than two players involved in that game, it's a bit tricky. And most people will have at least three, I think, because Liverpool are very popular. Uh, so Chelsea, having dumped West Ham out on their arse 5-1, now play Fulham at home. This is a very different game. Let's not expect the same from Chelsea this week because Fulham have a very good central midfield, which West Ham really don't. And West Ham is possibly the weakest in the Premier League because they don't really have a central, actual defensive midfield player because neither Ward-Prowse nor Paquetá are actually really defensive in its truest sense. Of course, Chelsea have about four of those players. They just bought a load of them. Caicedo, Lavia. Um, so this game is going to be interesting at 12:30. I'm not 100% convinced that Chelsea are going to win it. Um, I don't think games against West Ham are anything to go by given their first two games. So I'm suggesting that Fulham with they love to go to Chelsea and give them problems. Their fans, they're both West London teams. Chelsea don't even notice where Fulham are most of the time. Obviously, Fulham care a great deal about beating Chelsea, or at least the fans do. So I don't know. I'm gonna say Chelsea are gonna win that 2-1, actually. Um, Manchester United Burnley, this is impossible to call given the absolute state that Manchester United are in. I mean, go to Grimsby, give it your best shot. Don't let that happen. Because now already after the second game, the first game it looked very positive even though they lost. Now they're looking really, I mean, Amorim's face, it's just his face is enough to make you think he doesn't want to be there even. What does that transmit to the players? I don't know. So a lot of people were thinking about captaining Bruno Fernandes for this one, but I'm not going to do that. I have him. I'm going to steer clear. I mean, I'm hoping that he does something, but I'm not. And transfers in of Cunha and Burmo are logical given the fixture, but remember their fixtures are not great after this game week. So if you're going to bring in Burmo or Cunha, remember they have to then play difficult fixtures in the following week. So if you're not planning on playing a wild card, which of course many people will be in game week 4 or 5, I expect, um, you know, I would steer clear, honestly. Although Man United's defenders are very good value if they ever string any form together. So I don't want to spend too long on every team because I know you probably tune out if it gets boring. But Spurs at home to Bournemouth's an interesting one. Bournemouth capable of springing something on Spurs. They scored 2 goals at Anfield. Spurs are the form team in the division. They're performing well above expectation. Lovely fixture. Can't wait to see that. Um, in terms of fantasy football, I don't know what to say. I think Spurs defenders are very good options at this point because of their next five fixtures for Spurs are excellent. After this one, the next four are superb. Sunderland Brentford going to be very interesting. Two teams that have had hot and cold starts. Wolves. I mean, I would say Brentford would get a win there. I mean, I haven't seen enough of Sunderland to say otherwise. Wolves Everton. Um, I mean, Wolves. If they don't sell Strand Larson, they're still going to struggle to stay up. If they do sell Strand Larson, they look doomed. But they always seem to pull out something, Wolves. They always seem to have a player that comes through that you haven't heard of before. So don't write the Wolves off. Home to Everton, who can say? Um, Everton have flattered to deceive a little bit defensively. They should have conceded more goals than they have. They haven't had a great start, no matter what it looks like. Leeds Newcastle. Now this is going to be an absolute banger in terms of atmosphere. Leeds at home to Newcastle. I mean, I can't wait. Saturday for me is going to be utter joy here. 12:30 to 7 o'clock. I mean, it's just really good games. Chelsea, Fulham, followed by Spurs, Bournemouth, followed by Leeds, Newcastle. The ones I'll be watching are keeping an eye on Man United, Burnley as well. I think I think Newcastle will win that, but really because they're capable of shutting teams down. It's exactly the kind of team Leeds won't want to play. That midfield of Newcastle, although Joelinton is injured until after the international break, which could weaken them a bit in central midfield. Let's say let's say 2-2. Let's say 2-2 on that. Okay. Brighton, Manchester City. Um, I I must say, when I watch Brighton, I keep thinking. I mean, if they didn't have such a good manager, I would keep thinking they're going to implode sooner or later. Joao Pedro really, really helped them through a lot last season. They're lacking that talisman this season. I just think, I mean, Balib's obviously a very good player in central midfield, and I've talked about how important that is. But I kind of think Brighton are going to have a lower, mid to lower table, kind of 15th type of season. And I fancy Man City to put three past them in this game. Um, Although, of course, they had their usual problems last week against Spurs at home. So we'll see. Nottingham Forest, West Ham. I mean, this one is the reason why a lot of people are either playing a free hit or buying in Forest players or, just thinking this could be 3 or 4 nil to Forest. The only thing I would say, I do expect Forest to win this. The only thing I would say is that Forest don't like being the team with the ball very much, and they typically like to play into space when they're going forwards. Players like Hudson-Odoi and Morgan Gibbs-White very good at exploiting space once they get over the halfway line, which leaves often Chris Wood with, and now Elliot Anderson too is a very good passer of the ball. I just think if West Ham play this sensibly, and I mean that sounds like a oxymoron, but if West Ham kind of defend this well, they could surprise here. But I'm not confident enough to predict that. I'm going to say Forest will win this 1 or 2 nil, because Forest defense is usually pretty solid. So I would back the people looking at defensive Forest options and Chris Wood and Elliot Anderson. I'm not sure about Gibbs White or Hudson-Odoi. I don't think they return enough going forward. The Liverpool Arsenal fixture, 4:30 Sunday. Anything can happen in this one. We've seen how crazy Liverpool have been so far, and we've seen how effective Arsenal have been so far. I don't know who's going to win that in terms of the balance of play. If Gravenberch and McAllister play this game, if McAllister is fully fit and starts this game alongside Gravenberch, I'm predicting Liverpool. I'm predicting a draw. If Gravenberch and McAllister don't start this game together, if one of them is, well, McAllister looks doubtful, I'm predicting Arsenal to win this. I don't think Liverpool's central midfield will be strong enough against Rice and Subimendi, although Odegaard is very doubtful, which is, and Saka's obviously out. So Liverpool will be favourites for this game, but I just think that it's going to be another Arsenal game where Arsenal shut the game down, which they do often against Liverpool or Manchester City. And I think it's not going to be a great game to watch. I think it's going to be a lot of tension and little, bitings. I think Arsenal will, first thing they'll try and do is stop Liverpool scoring in the first half. Um, and try and nick it at some point. And I think they will do if what I've said about team selections is right. And finally, Aston Villa against Crystal Palace, 7 o'clock on Monday, 7 o'clock on Sunday, which is again Sunday's a very long day in terms of because of the international break. We don't have a Monday game, so Villa, I think will win that because Palace have had this Thursday night fixture. I don't think their squad is just strong enough. I've talked about how much I love their players. I think this one they might lose it, and I think we might see Watkins opening his account in this game after he's been sold out. He's been transferred out by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of players. Okay, I'm going to now look at my team. And I did something very stupid, in my opinion, on Sunday. And I looked at De Kuyper of Brighton, and I thought, he's a weak link. I'll get Van der Ven because of his fixtures. So I've made a transfer already, and I'm already regretting that transfer. I didn't need to make it. De Kuyper could have gone on the bench. And instead, I could have gone Saka out, who's dropped in price, to Elliot Anderson of Forest, and graded Mark Guiu to João Pedro. I can still do this before the deadline. I might do this before the deadline. The other option is to play a free hit and bring in Chris Wood, bring in a Forest defender, bring in another Manchester United player, but as we've seen, it's hardly guaranteed United will capitalize on this supposedly easier fixture. So I probably won't play the free hit because I think it could actually, I think also I might be getting rid of players that could do well on a free hit. So I'm like Gabriel at Liverpool. He scored at Liverpool 2 seasons ago. Um, there's no reason why Arsenal can't keep a clean sheet at Liverpool. So if I played a free hit, I'd get rid of him, and then I'd see Gabriel getting a clean sheet, and so that's always the problem with free hits that you somehow get rid of players that you would have wanted anyway. I may, however, on Saturday morning just do it, and I may do the Saka to Elliot Anderson, Mark Gu to Joao Pedro, which would be for 8 points. And that seems a lot. And I'm not sure moving forward if it's the best thing to get rid of Saka. He will spend at least one game out, probably two. I mean, it'll be two, I'm sure. I'm sure the game week 4 he won't be fit. And we may not even know how unfit he is because Arsenal lie, and we've seen this before. They never tell you really how many games a player's out for. And the fact they did it so quickly with that information is so precise made me even more suspicious. It's like, oh, he's out for 3 to 4 games. Well, why would you tell us that he's out for 3 to 4 games? I don't trust anything Arteta says anymore. So I've got no idea what to do with Saka really. And honestly, I thought he was back to full fitness. I was assured by Freddie. I'm blaming this on Freddie and Adam, who told me. I asked them, "Is he back to full fitness?" And they said, "Yeah, yep, yep." And I'm like, "Okay, he's not." So I'm. I really wanted to have him. I probably would have bought him anyway. It's not their fault, but I need to make a decision on Saka. Why have I done well, especially in terms of the sort of overall picture so far? Well, Gakpo has done much better than Verts. A lot of people have Verts. Sarr scored a goal in his second game, and he got a clean sheet in his first. So he scored 11 points over 2 games. Tarkowski is the one that I'm surprised by. Not that he's done well, that other people don't have him. I'm not talking about the mini league. I'm talking about the content creators who immediately jumped on him as soon as the defensive contributions stats were added to the game and said, "Oh yeah, this guy, he's so reliable for defensive contributions." And I looked at him and thought, "Well, okay, he's 5.5, but look at those fixtures. Got Leeds, Wolves, or who did they play last week? They beat them at home. They played Brighton at home. I thought that's a decent fixture." So I thought I'll have him. And he's been lucky, no doubt. He's been lucky. If you look at Everton's games, which I have done because I've got him, I'm like, oh, they narrowly avoided conceding on a lot of occasions against Leeds and again against Brighton. They were lucky. Um, but he picked up defensive contributions in both games. So he got 8 points for a clean sheet in the last game, and he got 4 points for conceding one goal in the previous games. He's on average of 6 a game, and he's got Wolves away. So I'm looking at that and I don't understand why people didn't go for him. I'm talking about your experts here. So I suppose they wanted players like Nuri, and this is where I've been very lucky. Palmer pulled up in training in the warm up against West Ham. I'm sure he would have hauled against West Ham, and I went against Palmer. Nuri injured for the last game, and I didn't have Nuri, and a lot of people did. So I've certainly been luckier than a lot of players. I will say, however, that the Bruno Fernandes penalty, if that goes in the previous game, then I'd be looking at an even better picture now. In fact, that would have been worth about 8 points because he would have picked up bonus points as well. So he's looking at 12 points instead of two. I think it's 12, so it's actually 10 points. So I would say that I was unlucky with that. Um, I think uh, I playing the bench boost last week, I was lucky that Burnley kept a clean sheet. I didn't see that game. I don't know how lucky that was, but I played the bench boost and I got both my keepers kept a clean sheet. So yeah, I'm very happy with how it's gone so far. I'm not expecting it to carry on that way unless Haaland outscores Salah every week. And that's not beyond the realms of possibility because people having backed Salah, there's no reason to get off him. And you can't have Salah and Haaland. I mean, a couple of people have, but my biggest hope is that Haaland outscores Salah every week, or at least most weeks. And in that situation, I have a chance for um, to keep this advantage that I've got early on. And I've captained him against Brighton. You can't trust Bruno for this one. Um, Pretty happy with most of these players. I don't, like I say, I don't fancy Palace against Villa. Gakpo, probably, we will see against Arsenal. I've said Gabriel might do well. Van der Ven and Porro, well, who knows if they can keep a clean sheet against Bournemouth. Petrovic at Tottenham, pretty low on hopes on that one. Tarkovsky, I think this could be, well, it definitely will be my worst week so far in terms of game week rank, no doubt about it. I'm just hoping that I don't suffer too much um, this game week and I keep, you know, um, well, I'm hoping Haaland scores a hat trick. Basically, that's what I'm pinning it on. And why not? He's playing Brighton. I mean, why not? So that's the wrap up from me. Thank you for watching. I hope things go better for you. And if you backed players that are basically good but not returning, stick with them. I don't agree with all this transferring out this player and that player. Oh, by the way, I forgot defensive midfield, right? This determines not only how strong your team is, but how a game will go, right? So you look at Liverpool, their whole system, because of losing Gravenberch and then McAllister, their whole system has fallen into flux. Don't expect all Liverpool's games to look as mad as their first two, right? Bournemouth got at them in midfield. They couldn't really handle it in the first game. They're lucky to win that. Lucky to beat Newcastle as well. I mean, they weren't lucky to beat Bournemouth. They scored 4 goals, but you know what I'm saying. They had to work very hard, and it wasn't like last season where they win a lot of games 2-0. This is very different. But don't write them off to being that team again this season. Once that central midfield pair gets back into the groove, okay. This is just because of the teams they're playing against. Now, in those games, imagine Florian Wirtz has come out of Germany, the Bundesliga, into this madhouse. That's the Premier League. I mean, those two games are the maddest games in both the game weeks. And he's looking around going, what the hell's going on here? It doesn't mean that Wirtz is a bad pick and will be a bad pick forever because he didn't adjust to those two games. He will have games where Liverpool control the game and he'll get plenty of opportunities to show how good he is. And he's very good, right? So I'm not saying don't sell Wirtz because Wirtz. I mean, I thought it was Wirtz in the first place. Then I heard him say it on a video, or somebody say it on a video. It wasn't him saying, "Oh, it's definitely Wirtz." So I changed it, and now my brain is confused, and everyone's saying Wirtz now. It's definitely Wirtz. Does anyone care? Probably not. Okay, so I'm not saying don't sell him. I'm saying don't write him off as an asset this season. He could well be a very strong asset this season. So as I was saying, West Ham, if they don't sort their central midfield out, they are relegation candidates for sure. And this is why some of these teams coming up are actually not bad in this area. Notice that Ethan Ampadu, who plays that role for Leeds, was missing in the second game and they fell to pieces. In the first game, they very, very tightly controlled Everton in midfield, much the better team than Everton in that game. Ampadu goes out, and all right, they're playing Arsenal away. That was, not many people would have given them a chance in that game, but they're nowhere in that game. Okay, look at Crystal Palace. You've got your two central midfield players, Wharton and your man Hughes. They are superb at getting the. It's a great combination, those two players. Honestly, don't write Palace off the top half without Eze. I've said this before, I'll say it again. They're going to finish top half this season. All right, they have the European fixtures and some weekends they're going to, like this one, I think they're going to find tough. But overall, because Conference League as well, you get a lot of games where you don't have to put out your strongest team. I think overall, Palace are going to do very well this season, and it's because of that. And they have Munoz as well, who's a superb player. Um, so I don't know who they'll sign before the end of the transfer window, if they will. They certainly have money in the bank. But I rate Palace hugely, I have to say, or at least, I mean, it's not a new idea. They were superb at the end of last season as well, unbeaten in how many games now? Crazy amount of games in all competitions. So I was trying to sign off. I forgot my point about central midfield players. I had other ones to add to that, which I should have prepared properly. But if you're still watching, thank you for watching, and see you next time, next week, hopefully. I don't know. I can't guarantee that. So it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.